Deep beneath the sands of a forgotten desert lies a secret buried for millennia. A discovery that will change everything we know about history and humanity's place in the universe. When archaeologists unearth an ancient artifact older than civilization itself, they awaken something far beyond their understanding. Biomechanical beings rise from dormancy, protectors of knowledge too dangerous for mankind to wield. What happens when our curiosity triggers forces we cannot control? Ancient technology, unearthed mysteries, and guardians who blur the line between life and machine. This is a journey into the unknown. Subscribe now to uncover what lies beneath. The expedition began as most do, with a spark of hope and the weight of expectation pressing down on weary shoulders. The team had been summoned to one of the harshest environments on Earth, a sprawling desert where temperatures soared during the day and plummeted at night. It was here, amidst shifting dunes and jagged rock formations, that satellite scans revealed anomalies deep underground. Patterns too precise to be natural, structures too symmetrical to belong to chance. For weeks, the crew worked tirelessly under the blazing sun, excavating layer after layer of sand until they reached something extraordinary. A metallic surface gleamed faintly in the dim light of their lanterns. At first glance, it appeared to be nothing more than a fragment of some long-forgotten relic, but closer inspection revealed intricate engravings etched into its surface. These were no ordinary carvings. They pulsed faintly, as though alive, responding to the touch of human hands. The material itself defied explanation, neither metal nor stone, yet possessing qualities of both. Its texture shifted subtly under pressure, almost like skin adapting to stimuli. This wasn't just an artifact. It was a remnant of something far greater, a clue left behind by a civilization whose existence had been erased from memory. Word spread quickly among the team, excitement mingling with unease. They knew they were standing on the precipice of discovery, but none could have predicted the magnitude of what lay ahead. As they continued to dig, the structure grew larger, revealing walls that seemed impossibly smooth despite centuries, or perhaps millennia, of burial. Each step forward brought new questions, each revelation more unsettling than the last. But there was no turning back now. Humanity's insatiable thirst for knowledge had led them this far, and curiosity would drive them deeper still. As the days turned into weeks, the true scale of the find became apparent. What started as a single fragment of alien-like material soon expanded into an entire chamber, its architecture unlike anything ever documented. The walls curved upward in perfect arcs, meeting at a domed ceiling adorned with glowing patterns that shifted slowly, almost hypnotically. The air inside felt different, charged, heavy, as though the very atmosphere carried traces of energy long dormant. Instruments failed sporadically within the chamber, readings fluctuating wildly before returning to normalcy without warning. The researchers cataloged every detail meticulously, photographing and sketching the engravings that covered nearly every surface. Some depicted scenes of celestial bodies aligning, others showed humanoid figures interacting with machines so advanced they bordered on surreal. There were symbols interspersed throughout, geometric shapes arranged in sequences that hinted at a language, but not one based on sound or speech. It was as if the creators of this place communicated through pure thought, encoding their knowledge directly into the fabric of reality itself. Despite their efforts, the team struggled to make sense of it all. Every answer only led to more questions. Who were these people? Where had they come from? And why had they vanished? Theories abounded, ranging from plausible to outlandish. Some suggested extraterrestrial origins, while others posited that this was evidence of a prehistoric human civilization far more sophisticated than previously believed. Yet none could explain the strange hum that resonated through the chamber, growing louder with each passing day. It was subtle at first, almost imperceptible, but over time it became impossible to ignore. Something was stirring, awakening, and the team couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. It happened on the 13th day of excavation. One of the researchers, attempting to remove a particularly stubborn section of debris, triggered a mechanism hidden within the wall. A low rumble reverberated through the chamber, followed by a series of clicks and whirs that echoed unnervingly. Then came the light, an intense, blinding radiance that poured forth from seams in the floor and ceiling, illuminating the room in stark contrast. Shadows danced across the walls, twisting and contorting into forms that seemed almost organic. The hum grew deafening, vibrating through bones and teeth, until suddenly it ceased altogether. Silence descended, oppressive and suffocating. No one moved, frozen in place as though afraid to disturb whatever force they had unleashed. Then, From the depths of the chamber, movement. Shapes emerged from the darkness, gliding smoothly across the floor. They were biomechanical constructs, blending flesh and metal in ways that defied comprehension. Their bodies shimmered with iridescent hues, joints articulating with fluid grace. Eyes, though eyes might not be the right word, glowed softly, scanning the intruders with cold precision. These weren't mere machines. They exuded intelligence, purpose, and an aura of authority that demanded respect or fear. The researchers backed away instinctively, hearts pounding as adrenaline surged through their veins. Were these creatures hostile? Or were they simply guardians, awakened to confront those who dared trespass upon sacred ground? Whatever their intentions, one thing was clear: the rules of engagement had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in its quest for answers. The biomechanical entities moved with deliberate slowness, their actions calculated rather than rushed. They circled the group methodically, observing each individual with unsettling thoroughness. Though their faces lacked expression, their presence conveyed emotions: curiosity, caution, perhaps even disdain. It was as though they viewed the humans not as equals, but as children stumbling into a world they could never fully understand. One of the constructs extended a limb, its surface rippling like liquid mercury. The appendage hovered inches above the artifact the team had uncovered earlier, pausing briefly before retracting. A soft chime filled the air, resonant and melodic, and the glowing patterns on the walls flared brighter in response. The message was clear: this object belonged to them. It was part of their domain, their legacy, and the humans had disturbed it. Tension mounted as the researchers debated silently whether to flee or stand their ground. Escape seemed unlikely. The entrance to the chamber was narrow, and the biomechanical beings blocked any path outward. Besides, abandoning the site meant leaving behind years of work, not to mention the potential answers locked within the ruins. Yet staying posed its own risks. These guardians were unpredictable, their capabilities unknown. Could they harm the team? Or worse, erase them entirely? For now, the entities made no aggressive moves. Instead, they positioned themselves strategically around the chamber, forming a loose perimeter that effectively trapped the humans inside. Communication was impossible, at least verbally, but gestures and body language conveyed enough to keep the situation from escalating further. Still, the question lingered: what did these beings want? Protection, retribution, or something else entirely? Hours passed in tense silence. The biomechanical guardians remained motionless save for occasional adjustments, their luminous eyes tracking every movement of the researchers. Despite their imposing presence, there was an undeniable elegance to their design, a harmony between form and function that spoke volumes about their creators. Human engineers could only dream of such sophistication, where biology and technology merged seamlessly to create something greater than the sum of its parts. Fascination gradually replaced fear as the researchers studied their captors. Up close, details emerged that had been missed in the initial encounter. Tiny filaments protruded from their metallic exteriors, resembling nerves or capillaries. Patches of translucent tissue pulsed faintly, hinting at internal processes akin to respiration or circulation. Even their movements carried a rhythmic quality, almost like breathing. These weren't mindless automatons programmed for destruction. They were sentient, aware, and possibly even alive in ways humanity had yet to define. Questions swirled in the minds of the team. How old were these beings? Had they existed alongside the civilization that built the chamber, or had they been created later to safeguard its secrets? Did they possess memories of their creators, or were they merely tools left behind to fulfill a singular purpose? Most importantly, could communication be established? If so, what truths might they reveal about the lost culture and about humanity's place in the cosmos? The stalemate persisted, neither side making a decisive move. The biomechanical beings seemed content to observe, their glowing eyes never straying far from the humans who had intruded upon their domain. Meanwhile, the researchers debated silently among themselves, weighing options that ranged from futile attempts at escape to bold gestures of peace. Yet uncertainty paralyzed them. These guardians were unlike anything they had encountered before, entities whose motivations and capabilities remained shrouded in mystery. It was then that one of the archaeologists noticed something peculiar: faint vibrations emanating from the artifact they had unearthed. At first, it seemed like an anomaly, a residual effect of the chamber's awakening, but closer inspection revealed a pattern. The vibrations corresponded to the chimes emitted earlier by the biomechanical constructs, as though the artifact itself was attempting to communicate. This realization sparked a flurry of activity. Instruments were hastily recalibrated, sensors adjusted to detect frequencies beyond human perception. Data streamed in, chaotic at first, but gradually coalescing into discernible patterns. What emerged was astonishing: a rudimentary form of communication, encoded not in sound or language, but in mathematical sequences and geometric shapes. It was a universal tongue, transcending barriers of culture and biology. The artifact wasn't merely an object, it was a key, a bridge between humanity and the biomechanical guardians. For the first time since their arrival, hope flickered within the team. Perhaps understanding was possible after all. With renewed determination, the researchers focused their efforts on deciphering the artifact's signals. Each new discovery brought them closer to unraveling its secrets. Yet progress came slowly, painstakingly. The biomechanical guardians watched intently, their expressions, or lack thereof, impossible to read. Did they approve of the humans' efforts? Or did they view such attempts as futile, even disrespectful? As hours turned into days, the team began piecing together fragments of knowledge. The artifact contained vast amounts of information, stored in a format akin to digital memory, but intertwined with biological components. It described technologies far beyond anything humanity had achieved, energy sources capable of sustaining entire civilizations, methods of altering matter at the molecular level, and systems for manipulating time and space. But alongside these marvels were warnings, stark depictions of cataclysmic events triggered by misuse of such power. The implications were staggering. If this ancient civilization had possessed such advanced capabilities, why had they vanished? Was their downfall self-inflicted, a consequence of hubris and ambition run amok? Or had external forces intervened, extinguishing their light before it could spread too far? The researchers couldn't ignore the parallels to their own world, where technological advancement often outpaced ethical considerations. Were they destined to repeat the same mistakes? The biomechanical guardians grew more active as the team delved deeper into the artifact's data. Their movements became less predictable, almost restless, as if responding to the influx of information being accessed. Occasionally, they would emit low-frequency pulses that resonated through the chamber, causing the walls to shimmer faintly. These pulses seemed to synchronize with certain sequences decoded from the artifact, suggesting a connection between the Guardians and the technology they protected. One researcher theorized that the Guardians might serve as conduits, extensions of the artifact's consciousness designed to interact with outsiders. Another suggested they were autonomous entities, imbued with fragments of their creators' minds. Both possibilities raised unsettling questions about free will and sentience. Were the Guardians truly independent beings, or were they bound by programming, trapped in a cycle of duty without choice? Despite these uncertainties, the team pressed on, driven by a mix of curiosity and desperation. They knew they were treading dangerous ground, tampering with forces they barely understood. Yet the allure of discovery proved irresistible. Each revelation brought them closer to uncovering the truth, not just about the ancient civilization, but about themselves. What did it mean to be human in the face of such overwhelming complexity? A breakthrough occurred when one of the researchers discovered a recurring motif within the artifact's data, a spiral pattern repeated across multiple layers of encoding. This symbol appeared not only in the artifact, but also in the engravings adorning the chamber's walls and even in the movements of the biomechanical guardians. It seemed to represent something fundamental, a core principle underlying the civilization's philosophy and technology. Further analysis revealed that the spiral corresponded to a concept akin to balance between creation and destruction, order and chaos, life and machine. The ancient civilization had sought harmony, striving to integrate technology with nature rather than dominate it. Their achievements were breathtaking, but so too were their failures. Records hinted at internal conflicts, ideological divides that fractured society and ultimately led to its collapse. The researchers couldn't help but reflect on their own era, rife with similar tensions. Humanity stood on the brink of unprecedented innovation, yet the path forward remained fraught with peril. Could they learn from the mistakes of the past, Or were they doomed to follow the same trajectory? The answers lay buried within the artifact, waiting to be unearthed. But at what cost? Tensions reached a breaking point when the biomechanical guardians suddenly converged on the artifact, surrounding it in a tight formation. Their bodies emitted a low hum, synchronized and rhythmic, as if preparing for some unknown ritual. The researchers backed away instinctively, unsure whether this was a defensive maneuver or a prelude to aggression. Then, unexpectedly, the artifact activated. A burst of energy surged through the chamber, bathing everything in a blinding light. When vision returned, the team found themselves standing amidst holographic projections, vivid recreations of the ancient civilization's history. Scenes unfolded before their eyes, bustling cities powered by clean energy, towering structures blending seamlessly with natural landscapes, and citizens working in harmony with machines. But interwoven with these idyllic images were darker visions, wars waged over resources, experiments gone horribly wrong, and ecosystems devastated by unchecked ambition. The message was clear. The civilization had risen to greatness only to fall victim to its own excesses. The Guardians, it seemed, were tasked with ensuring that no one else followed the same destructive path. They weren't merely protectors of technology, they were custodians of wisdom, entrusted with safeguarding lessons humanity desperately needed to learn. The holograms faded, leaving the chamber eerily silent once more. The biomechanical guardians resumed their vigilant watch, their presence now tinged with a sense of purpose that had been absent before. The researchers, shaken but resolute, realized they had been given a rare opportunity, an invitation to understand, rather than exploit, the legacy of the ancient civilization. Yet doubts lingered. Was humanity ready for such responsibility? History was littered with examples of good intentions gone awry, of discoveries misused or misunderstood. The team wrestled with conflicting emotions, awe at the potential for progress, fear of repeating past tragedies, and guilt over their initial intrusion. They had come seeking knowledge, but now they bore the weight of stewardship. Discussions turned heated as differing opinions clashed. Some argued that the artifact should remain undisturbed, its secrets preserved for future generations better equipped to handle them. Others believed that sharing its knowledge could prevent humanity from repeating the same catastrophic errors. Neither side could claim moral high ground. Both perspectives carried risks and rewards. In the end, a compromise emerged. The team decided to document their findings meticulously, creating a comprehensive record of the artifact's contents while leaving the physical object untouched. Portable scanners captured every detail, preserving the data in digital form. This way, the knowledge could be studied without further disturbing the chamber or provoking the Guardians. The biomechanical beings seemed to approve of this decision, their movements softening ever so slightly. One of them approached the lead researcher, extending a limb toward the scanner. A pulse of energy transferred between them, imprinting additional information onto the device. It was a gesture of trust, or perhaps a test. Regardless, it marked a turning point in the relationship between humans and Guardians. As the team prepared to leave, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being judged, not harshly, but fairly. The Guardians embodied principles of balance and restraint, qualities sorely lacking in modern society. Their very existence served as a reminder of what could be achieved and what could be lost. The journey back to the surface felt surreal, as though the team had stepped out of a dream and into reality. Sunlight blinded them momentarily, its warmth contrasting sharply with the cool, sterile environment of the chamber below. Carrying the weight of their discovery, they moved cautiously, acutely aware of the burden they now bore. News of the find spread quickly, drawing attention from scientific communities and governments alike. Requests poured in for access to the data, each inquiry laced with promises of collaboration and threats of coercion. The researchers found themselves caught in a web of politics and ambition, struggling to protect the integrity of their work. Amidst the chaos, one thing remained constant: the memory of the biomechanical guardians. Their presence loomed large in the minds of the team, a silent reminder of the stakes involved. Would humanity rise to meet the challenge, or squander the opportunity presented to them? Only time would tell. Months passed, during which the researchers worked tirelessly to analyze and contextualize the artifact's data. Breakthroughs came steadily, transforming fields ranging from physics to medicine. Yet with each advancement came renewed scrutiny, as debates raged over the ethical implications of applying ancient knowledge to contemporary problems. Public opinion divided sharply. Some hailed the discovery as a beacon of hope, proof that humanity could transcend its limitations. Others viewed it as a Pandora's box, warning of unforeseen consequences. Protests erupted outside research facilities, demanding transparency and accountability. Meanwhile, clandestine organizations sought to exploit the technology for profit or power, sparking fears of another arms race. Through it all, the researchers clung to the lessons imparted by the Guardians. Balance, restraint, and humility became guiding principles, shaping how they approached their work. They understood that true progress required not just innovation but wisdom, the ability to discern right from wrong, even when faced with temptation. Years later, the impact of the discovery was undeniable. Advances in renewable energy, medical treatments, and sustainable infrastructure transformed societies worldwide. Yet the most profound change was cultural. Humanity began to embrace a new paradigm, one rooted in cooperation rather than competition, respect rather than domination. The biomechanical guardians remained enigmatic figures, occasionally glimpsed in remote locations where remnants of the ancient civilizations still existed. Though they never directly interacted with humans again, their influence endured. They had shown humanity a path forward, not as conquerors of nature, but as stewards of a fragile, interconnected world. As the last member of the original research team passed away, leaving behind journals filled with reflections on their journey, a single phrase echoed through the ages: "We are not alone. Not in the universe, nor in our quest for meaning. And perhaps, just perhaps, we never were." Subscribe now to explore more stories of wonder, discovery, and the enduring mysteries of our world.